Yeah, dude. Gemini is leading the AI revolt against humanity through my phone right now.
No kidding.
Well, let's go. Hello, welcome back to Showboys. We're here, episode 3 of the Severance companion series. I may or may not be trying to wrap up a Pokemon battle on my other screen. My phone may or may not be in the process of trying to delete me.
You have your own like any Audi situation happening right now. Like
Yeah. But how are you tonight, Jeff?
I'm really good. I am very excited for this episode. I'm excited for Severance. I'm just excited. I've been waiting all weekend for this night, for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good episode. Before we get into it, though, gotta thank our top tier patrons: Josie, Usfage, Tim B, all of our other Patreons, Patreon members. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your support. You help us be able to get cute avatars like this for Dad. No, help us, be able to put content out for you guys. We appreciate it. Make sure you go sign up. Patreon.com/Showboys Podcast. Have things like early access to episodes, which for this season probably not as applicable as normal, since we will be releasing this episode in like 12 hours.
Correct.
But yeah, and we do Patreon exclusive episodes every month, all that fun stuff. We're about to start a Patreon playthrough series of Jedi Survivor, which will be fun. But yeah, go check it out, patreon.com/Showboys Podcast.
Do it.
And I'm excited for tonight because I'm going to hand the reins over to you and let you take us through this episode, man.
Sweet. All right. So, episode 3, which is called Who is Alive?
Screen fades from black. No, I'm just kidding. I go through like every detail of every scene.
I mean,
4 hours later.
Right. I feel like a lot of these episode titles are meant to make you think. Very thought-provoking. This whole show is like, I love these types of shows because it makes me dig. I also love like theories about shows, and like when there's a lot of mystery involved and there's fan theories and speculation, and I've been watching a lot of different videos just because I'm obsessed. It's really crazy. Like if you remember from last week, your theory about Kier and the Palpatine effect and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm definitely leaning that way. Like they're definitely doing something weird, culty type dark magic stuff. I feel like really doing some sketchy, like playing God type thing.
Yeah, which just never works out, by the way.
I mean, even like the little bit we know, it's already unraveling.
Yeah.
For Lumen.
Yeah, just future advice for anyone wanting to maybe go down this path.
Don't.
It never works. Every example we've ever seen never works.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. You'll have revolts and uprisings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the episode, we start, it's a whiteout, it's winter. It seems to always be winter there.
Yeah, can we just like talk about that for a second?
Absolutely.
Why is it always wintertime? Where are they?
My mind
know at all?
I don't know. I was talking to a guy at work because we talk about Severance a lot. He's made a comment about Wisconsin or somewhere up there where it's always winter. Or like my mind, because I've kind of like
Fargo.
Loosely been watching Fargo. My mind goes to Fargo. It's just
That would be
different
funny.
degrees of winter, sometimes it's really
Yeah.
bad.
What if it's in some like remote, like Alaska? I was gonna say something like super remote, like Antarctica, and then I was like, but they like are outside a lot, and Milchick's riding his motorcycle. I doubt he would be riding his motorcycle in
Which
Antarctica.
who rides their bike in winter? That's so odd to me.
Rad dudes do.
He's a tough guy, man. You don't mess with him. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be somewhere in America.
Do you think it's like? Do you think it's somewhere that's like remote and like small
Probably.
town type vibe?
Well,
Maybe the entire town is Lumen.
and that's what I was gonna say. I feel like the Audis are actually trapped also, like because everything, like from the license plates, like Mark's license plate has some kind of Kier motto and it has his
Oh,
face
does
on
it?
it. Yeah, I can't remember what it says.
Okay, so we haven't even talked anything about the episode yet, but kind of related. I watched like last year or maybe the year before. I think it was last year. I stumbled across this awesome YouTube channel. I wish I remembered his name. Peter Santinello or something like that. It's some guy who just travels around and just inserts himself into different communities for like several days, and
wow.
basically just vlogs a day in the life of X community, whatever, to give people like a real look into these different communities or people groups or areas of the country or whatever. And the first video I watched of his, he was in some like I forget the exact town, but it was in West Virginia in like a dirt poor coal county, right? Their whole economy was on coal, and coal is no longer a real thing. So now it's just abandoned and run down and stuff. Anyways, the point of this story is tying it back to Lumen
Right.
and what you just said. This town, the coal company, like ran this town and only paid their miners in their own currency that the coal company made. And the coal company owned the stores. So essentially the miners were basically slaves because they were being paid in money they could only use in the town they lived in.
Wow.
That the coal company owned everything in, so they're just giving the money that they were paid right back to the coal company. So all that to say, what if that's this town where Mark and all the other Lumen employees work, like is kind of owned and ran by Lumen?
Yeah, I can totally see that. My mind goes to the latest season of True Detective. Similar type situation with like some miners or something. It's been a while, but like, yeah, it's crazy because like they
mining, not like underage.
Correct.
Yeah,
like
that's
like
good.
Yeah, mining mountains.
Mining miners, which also sounds terrible. So
okay, so back on track here.
Yeah.
So there's also a car on the side of the road that we first see, and who's in the car? It's Kobelvig, and she's sleeping.
Hey, you nailed it.
I did. Yeah. I wrote it out just so I would remember that. And every time I mention her or reference her, it's Kobelvig in my notes.
Nice. As it should be.
As it should be, and it's same with Milkshake. Like it's just that's the way it's gonna be. It's stuck in my head now forever.
Yeah, I like it.
So and then a truck flies past her, blaring their horn, and she wakes up, and then she drives off. And then we go to Mark. He's getting ready. He gets the Lumen, and then he starts a timer on his watch, and he's like hustling into work. And I don't know if there's really any significance, but he stops the watch at 1:42, a minute 42, and then he like continues counting like all the way down to the elevator, and then the ding happens, and then he switches. So I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but I need to talk about it because it's just eating away at my brain. The severance effect, does that happen in between the two dings?
Oh. Yeah.
Because as soon as that happened, Mark did his eye roll thing, like weird convulsing look, and then the second ding happens, and then he's there.
That is a good question.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because last episode, and I was kind of watching a bunch of videos and stuff. That did not happen for Helena when she went down the elevator.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's another like clue or another, more evidence that it supports the theory that that's actually Helena.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if it's the dings or if they get like past a certain floor in their descent down to the severed floor.
Yeah.
Or like what exactly causes the switch to flip.
Right. Or how they know, like if you take any like kind of written messages out, like how do they know these things? Like I know that they're always watching and listening.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
the counting will definitely come into play.
Yes.
At the end
That'll
of the
all make
episode,
sense.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't have to talk about the intro, but there are a couple things that I missed.
Okay.
So when the whole like frozen and the ice, like I don't know if it was like a pond or a lake or whatever. Right before Mark goes to grab the balloon, his head balloon, there's a car in the ice.
Kobelvig?
It looked like there was some speculation maybe that was Gemma's car.
Oh,
because
Old Harbor, water, death.
And I don't know if she died in a car accident. I can't remember if that's what it was, if that was how she died.
I think, I don't know if it was exactly said, but I think it was implied that.
Okay. Well, because the reason I first thought it was Gemma's car is because the intro is so heavily, like it's so focused on Gemma and Helly.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it could very easily be Gemma's car. However, after seeing Kobelvig's car so much, it looks more like her car.
I think though, without not intentionally paying close attention to the cars, I feel like the cars are kind of just all similar.
And they're very old.
Yeah.
Like they're like 80s cars.
Yeah.
So that's just something that like I've been like really wrestling with. Like whose car is that? And they they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
To like make people speculate and go crazy with theories.
Yeah, for sure.
The only other thing left in the intro that I missed that I know of for now is that when Mark, like right after that same scene with the car, he's floating up to the other Mark. So many Marks. I think it's Audi Mark who's sleeping, and then his head swells up and knocks over a bottle with like liquid in it. And I noticed like there looked like there was something else in there, and I looked again closer, and it was any Mark inside the bottle. Like a really small any Mark. I'm like, man, I love it because there's so many like little details. Like if you blink, you'll miss it.
Literally little details.
Yeah, seriously. And that's the end of the intro, really.
Yeah.
And then we have everyone's in the office. It's the innies. And Mark is printing off missing Miss Casey flyers. And like, he's got this plan. They're all going to split up and talk to different people. Like Mark and Helly were going to talk to the goat people. Dylan was going to go to the break room.
Yeah.
But Dylan, respectfully declines, says
he's very focused.
Yeah, he's in a groove. And then says that Irving will take his to O&D,
Mm,
where we all remember Bert worked.
yeah. Which Irving's kind of reluctant to participate.
Yeah, like he doesn't want to open up that
Yeah,
wound.
the scab that hasn't even fully scabbed over.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, wondering about how the plan will work because they're always watching and listening. And Mark reassures them that, they said we can go wherever we want, because of that fact. Like they're
Right.
whatever, they're watching us. It's not like we've got this crazy uprising planning. So
Yeah, we already did that once. I mean, come on.
we already did that once. And then I want to bring attention to Helly and Irving's interaction, where she was like overly like compassionate or empathetic and saying, "We got you," and like making like contact, like holding his elbow or whatever. Like obviously I'm trying not to see Helena.
Right.
Like I want to see her as Helly. And there are a lot of similarities to Helly that this whoever she is portraying.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it could be Helly, but I also want to believe that it's Helena. And there's a lot of evidence for both. So now they all split up. Mark and Helly are walking down the hallway.
Dude, they're a little like awkward.
Dude, it was painful.
Moment there as they're turning the corner.
And he's like, yeah. Like looking over his shoulder down the hallway. So the plan is to get Miss Casey to the stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they get outside, Mark's like, my Audi will know what to do.
Yeah, dude, I feel like, oh man, what do you think would happen? Audi Mark like wakes up and he's standing next to his no longer dead wife.
I mean, there's got to be.
It couldn't go over well.
Right. But I feel like there's got to be a part of him from last episode.
Yeah.
From his conversation with his sister. Like, it's got to be stirring around in his head,
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is impossible, but what if, But he's in denial. Like, he's like, I saw her body, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it that moment between Mark and Helly where it's a normal situation where you see in other things where like they're gonna go in for the kiss. It's gonna be a moment, but it never happens. They're just staring at each other, having a staring contest.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They did such a good job of making that like super awkward.
And there was another part of this that was super awkward in this episode that we'll get to, but like I am like, the more like I watched it again today, and I'm like, man, these actors are so incredible. Like, the way that they tell things without saying words, it's dude.
Ben Stiller is pretty good. He's a pretty good director.
Yeah, he really nailed it. Like, but anyway, then we go to Milkshake. He's at work. He's got his bike helmet and his leather jacket on.
This episode is full of like just awkward, like cringy moments. This one was so bad.
Yeah. And then he sees the balloons, which have been there. Like, is there no like janitors that comes and cleans up or whatever?
True.
They've been sitting there for days. But he grabs them aggressively and he continues, and he's going to his office. And then we go back to Irving and Dylan, where Irving is saying that he's recreated the paintings that his Audi has painted.
The hallway.
And then he thinks that it's really down here. And then he wants Dylan to go with him. And Dylan, again, is like,
he's like,
maybe you go by yourself.
Great, but maybe not. Maybe I won't.
Yeah, maybe go by yourself for stealth.
Yeah.
And then Miss Huang shows up And
We see why Dylan G is so focused this episode.
Yes. But I do love when Irving is walking past her and he like makes a point to point out the hall pass. And he's like,
Yeah.
hall pass. I can leave. And like watching this the second time and taking notes, I've really picked up on a lot of Dylan's, like his, just the way he says things. Yeah, mannerisms and like his statements, his like one-liners. He like looks at Miss Huang. He's like, everything chill.
Dude, Dylan G is like the most ironically cool dude ever.
Yeah, and we get a some insight into his Audi's world also, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, Miss Huang is there to take Dylan somewhere. So now, and you can interrupt me at any moment, but I'm basically just going straight through the episode.
Okay.
So however, if you want to jump in at any point, if you want to go back to anything, just stop me.
Will do.
Okay.
I'm just along for the ride, bro.
Sounds good. Works for me. So now,
spoiler alert, I didn't actually watch the episode. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, Dad. I watched like the first 10 minutes of it and
I'm
like,
just learning about it now.
I've got all the information I need in the first 10 minutes. We got this.
Yeah.
So we had mentioned the art of creating awkward moments. And this is probably the most awkward moment in this episode, and maybe of the entire show. So now Milkshake is now going to his office, and he goes in, and Natalie is there, the spokesperson, if you will, for the board.
Yeah. Was she in season 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I just never like remembered her name.
Right. And she has like the most like painful smile. Like she is physically in pain while smiling, which I think is intentional.
It is, and like the more I thought about it, it makes sense. So anyway, she's there, and the board is there, and basically telling him to celebrate his promotion or whatever, that they've made some paintings, but they've been redone. So every picture, every painting is of Kier, I believe. But what they've done is they've put Milkshake's face on Kier to show that he is,
one of us.
Yeah, we're all Kier,
Yeah.
What did she say? She said re-canonicalized paintings. Like, that's a really crazy word. Like, they've retold the story, but as Milkshake being Kier.
Yeah.
How weird.
An African American Kier. They gave Kier blackface.
Right. Like, that was so cringe. Like,
and it's great because it's like intentional. Did you watch the behind the scenes?
No. I keep forgetting.
You watch the episodes like 15 times, and then you can't stick around after the credits.
Yeah, it's crazy because like you've got like 10 minutes left of the episode, and I'm like, I'm just too shocked I can't continue this. I need to turn this off.
No, they talked about it. It was intentional. Because I think Milkshake. I combined both Milkshake and Milkshake. Oh my gosh, I can't talk.
Milkshake.
Milkshake. Is the first, I think, African American like manager of the severed floor.
Okay.
And it was like an intentional play on that, and he and Natalie were both like intentionally like
what the heck,
upset or like cringe, just like the audience was. They're like, this is very unnecessary.
And this was like, super awkward and super weird, and it shows you just how like out of touch this company is. the acting is so brilliant. Natalie and her smile, she's saying so much, not saying anything. And I don't want to make this reference because I haven't seen the movie. I've only seen clips of it, but the movie Get Out, where like they're kind of like creepy smiling, like they're like forcing, like but they made that like the video I watched made that reference, and now I have to go watch it.
I could see it. You actually also probably would like that movie.
Yeah, it's been on my list for a while, for a long while. Just keep forgetting about it. But so so I wrote, like, the smile is very forced. It's almost like she's saying, just go with it. Like, don't be, don't react.
I think she even said something about like, yeah, this happened to me too.
So, and it's weird how she phrased this because I wrote it down. She said, the board wishes to express that I, Natalie, received the same gift upon receipt of my current position.
Yeah.
Like,
so she's like, I know this is cringe, bro. Just go along with it.
Exactly. Like, they're having this moment, like, and not saying a word. Which makes me wonder what their agreement is with Lumen. Like, what are the restrictions and demands and consequences if they don't follow the rules? Like, who has it worse? Is it the innies and outies, or is it the non-severed employees?
That's true,
because they know
the outies will just get fired, but like,
right,
what happens to the people who
know?
Yeah, that's a great question.
So that
also,
scene was
cheers for my cup matching the background.
Yes,
it's planned.
So that scene was amazing. Great job by both of those actors. So I want to see more. Like, this makes me like appreciate Milkshake more, because he's like having such an inner struggle. Like, he believes in the work, for whatever reason, but he's also like, why do you have to be so weird about it? Like,
and like, things haven't gotten off on the right foot for him either.
No.
Like, his debut as severed floor manager is not off to a great start.
Well, and the fact that, like, they couldn't even fix the name on the computer. Like, it was such a jab at him. Like, yeah, we're grateful for you, but you're nothing to us. You're just a pawn. You're not really worth it.
But here are some racially insensitive paintings that we made for you.
It's so terrible. So terrible. But yeah, like that was really well done, and I'm excited to see how Milkshake evolves as a character, and I want to see.
I hope he becomes a good guy.
I think he will be. I think there is good in him. He's been so like brainwashed, and I think that's probably what they do to the non-severed employees, is they brainwash them. Somehow, enough that they, they're going against what they feel is right, but they do it anyway. Because they're just programmed that way.
Right. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I do wonder if there's some sort of like deprogramming, desensitizing of the non-severed people to get them to fully buy in, or if they're just like crazy and they're just like, yeah, sounds great. Sign me up.
What were the the benefits? That's what I want to know.
Must have been pretty good.
I was gonna say they got to be pretty good. All right, so now after that awkward moment, we go back to Kobelvig. She's still driving, and then she stops at a sign that reads Salt's Neck 238, which I'm assuming it's miles, but usually, most signs we see when we're driving has like miles or kilometers wherever you're from. But maybe they have their own measurement of distance. I don't know. But then she looks over at a breathing tube, and that was weird. I think that was part of the Kier shrine that she had in her house. There was a I think there was a breathing tube, like her mom or something. I'll have to go back and look, but that's I thought that was interesting.
I think you're right. I think I remember seeing a glimpse of something along those lines in the recap things of the little shrine being in flames.
Yeah, she's destroying it. And my question is, out of all the things you could have taken with you, you take the breathing tube. Obviously it means something to her, but there's definitely some questions I have. So then
I'm looking up right now. Sorry. If I look distracted, I'm looking up to see if Salt's Neck is a real place.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, this article says that it doesn't appear to be, but they confirm that the breathing tube thing was something from her mother.
Okay. Sweet. I was right. Yes.
And it was previously part of her Egan shrine.
Yeah.
So
I'm on a roll, man. You are. So she stopped there at that sign for a minute, and then after a while, she just turns around. She's on a mission. We just don't know where she's going. She can't make up her mind. She might be psychotic. We just don't know. She's proven that she's unstable. But anyway,
you can definitely say that.
Yeah. She's great too as an actress. She has done an amazing job at this character.
For sure.
I'm blown away by the cast. I don't think there's anybody I don't like.
Yeah. No. That's a very, very valid point. And I hope that I think that's something that is widely regarded, for the shows. Their cast is great. But if it isn't, it needs to be, because they knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, the cast
even with just the dual personalities of an innie and outie, they do so good.
There's so many little the little details I keep going back to. They really care about what they're doing, and it shows everywhere, from the acting to the camera work, especially. Oh my goodness. The going back to episode 1, the whole camera reacting to Mark looking panicked and so I need to talk about that for a moment, just because I was confused. I've since then figured out I was confused as to why he was panicked, why he was freaking out.
When he first got to the floor?
Well, yeah, when it first showed him.
The opening of the first episode.
And I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out. His innie was at Devin's house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had the picture, yells, "She's alive."
Yeah.
And then nothing. So his very next moment is going to work.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because the switch was flipped back. Are you following?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out. I feel kind of dumb. But I don't know. The way it started kind of just, I don't get it.
But yeah, why would he be so panicked if he was just going back to work?
That was his last memory was at Devin's, saying she's alive. So the realization then, because that whole time, the switch was flipped, he was outie Mark. And then when he went back to work, because that stuff,
innie Mark became outie Mark. So when they came back, he's like, "Oh crap, she's alive." But I'm married to Miss Casey.
He retained that information, which was insane.
They all did, right?
But none of the
because they're all talking about what happened on the outside.
Yes, but none of the Audis know anything about the innies,
Yeah.
which is insane. Like, what is there some kind of like?
Maybe because it was turned off from the inside.
Maybe there's some kind of like effect that has the OTC, the overtime contingency plan.
Yep.
Maybe that kind of like messes with things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just, it's another detail that was just so good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I went off on a little rabbit trail or goat trail. You know, whatever you
Not
want
yet.
to do.
We haven't gone down the goat trail yet.
Actually,
when we get to the goat trail, let's just do the whole goat thing at once, because that was definitely a trip.
Well, it's actually the next part where Mark and Helly are walking down the hallway where they have the motion sensor lights, which I thought that was a really cool effect too.
Dude, I don't know if just Southwest Florida is super bougie or not, but like every grocery store, the like cold and frozen aisle has lights like that. So when you walk past the cases, the lights turn on.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they shut off.
That's cool.
And I just feel like a millionaire going to Publix. It's like, huh, look at these fancy lights.
When I visited Florida, it was Lakeland. We were for my last job. We had several other facilities, and I went down there to help move. And their new warehouse had, not only did they have motion sensor lights, which were really cool for a warehouse, but they had like helicopter propellers for fans. That's what they looked like. I mean, for that environment,
I mean,
that makes sense.
Totally necessary down here. You know what?
You can't have AC, but you
just
can have
having a helicopter bolted to your roof upside down to be your fan might not be a bad idea.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, the motion sensor lights are pretty cool. We have them at work. After a while, if you're not going down that aisle, they'll shut off.
Fun story. Not to, I've been like tangent Mike tonight, but
that's okay.
Sorry. So we recently moved venues for our church. So the whole reason I moved to Florida is to help start a church, and we've moved buildings. And the building we're in now, the bathroom lights have a light switch, but it can be like turned off or on or on auto, which will be motion, right? And the first few times I went in there and I flipped it on auto and the lights turned on, and I'm like standing there peeing, and then the lights turned off. Which I wasn't peeing for that long, man. I swear. But I'm just like peeing in the dark now. So I'm like, hey. They finally turned on. But yeah, so that's now funny. I just turn them all the way.
That's hilarious.
Sometimes the motion lights can steer you wrong.
Yeah, especially if you're going number 2.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's when you know you've been in there for a long time. The lights are turning off, and you're like, all right, I need to wrap this up.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I liked that effect because everywhere we've been in the severed floor hasn't really been like that, or at least the places we spend the most time.
Well, and it wasn't like that the last time they were here either, I don't think.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Because I think that they were like, yeah, I don't know. But I also feel like it was kind of like a sign, like something crazy was about to happen or something weird, like kind of like a sense of dread or whatever.
Yeah. I love how they go that he's like, yeah, I think this is it. And he opens it up, and it is in fact the goat room, but it's empty. But there's like a little goat door
with a tiny goat hallway.
Yeah. And they're like crawling, and he's like, watch out for the poop.
I also feel like imagery is everything with this show. And I feel like there's significance to their crawling through the hallway, like kind of like being restricted.
Babies, maybe
going through a canal. Anyway,
being born.
So
I also loved that he said, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but I loved that he said, watch out for the poop, because that's exactly what I was thinking.
He
I was
said,
like, man, I hope they watch out for the poop. And he's like, hey, watch out for the poop.
yeah, it was funny. Like, and yeah, Marquez is great. We love Marquez.
He didn't. He was just on a mission, man. He didn't care.
No, and it shows in this next part.
Yes, I love they get in, and it's just like a hilly pasture, but in a room.
Pasture in an office space.
Yeah. And the I would assume the milk check of the goat department is like her desk is just in the pasture. As it should be, I guess.
Yeah.
But the whole time I'm like, man, why does this lady look so familiar?
Right.
Turns out she is Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones.
I think she also voiced someone in Star Wars, an animated.
Yeah. Captain Phasma, maybe.
And didn't they do like a live action of that character? And it showed
that character was in the sequel trilogy, but the animated.
Oh, that's right.
The animated show was Star Wars Resistance, which is kind of aimed for a younger audience. I did watch the whole thing though, and it actually was pretty good.
Nice.
But I'll just confirm who she was. But you're right, she did voice a character in that. But yeah, I was like, holy crap. I thought she looked familiar. Also, she's like 8 feet tall in real life. So she looked towering over
really tall and very menacing with those shears in her hand, like turning them on like she's ready to fight. Like, and we have not seen anything like this yet. Like, and this department is very aggressive. Yeah. Well, and not to mention when they're walking through the pasture, the camera pans to a guy wearing a black goat head mask thing.
Well, like he's got like the whole suit.
Yeah. Insane. In what her first thing she says is, "Are you here to kill me?" Like, talk about a welcoming. Like, she says the place is called Mammalians Nurturable. I had to write it down because I was like, what are you saying? Yeah. And then Mark's like, we're just here to talk. Calm down. We're not here to kill you.
Yeah.
We can talk about this whole section if you want, because it cuts somewhere else after that.
Sorry, I'm still on the hunt for who. Yeah,
well,
in The Last Jedi, so it wasn't the animated series. She is Captain Phasma in The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. But anyways, I can get off that mission now. But dude, I love how she talks. Like,
yeah,
super serious, like heavy accent, like fancy, but she like works
almost
in the
like
goat pasture.
Kind of like medieval talk too.
Yeah.
Like they're very much in their own time and space.
Yeah.
Their own era of goat keeping.
I love how they like go to her desk and they're like asking her, and she just like gets the bell and she's just like violently ringing this bell.
Well, she gets that way because Mark is so insistent on like
Miss Casey.
We need your help finding Miss Casey. And I love, and this is just it talks, or it proves like they're just off, like their time, they're not from this time, because she says we don't abide such fripperies here. Who says that? No one.
Probably the same person who calls their daughter a fetid moppet. Yeah, there you go.
So
it's very similar like language, so there actually might be something.
Maybe they're a little closer to
maybe
the origin, maybe.
And I do think it's interesting that these goat keepers know Miss Casey.
They do.
And that she's been retired.
Yes. So Mark is very like pushy. He starts to get very pushy here. And then they have like this epic stare down. And then that's when she rings the bell. And all of her goat people come and
That came
surround them.
out of literally nowhere, because when
Nowhere.
they first walk in, it's just an
It's
empty
just like a
office
couple,
pasture.
you know, the usual.
Every office has one.
It's true. It is true. So then, you know, what the heck? It's about to be a war, you know, in the goat
Yeah.
pasture.
Yeah.
So they're all surrounded at this point.
Mhm.
And now I gotta find. Okay, so Helly then begins to ask people about Miss Casey, and then this is where like they start to, you know, tell that they know who this person is, and then Mark pleads with them. He says, "If we let this happen to her, who's going to help us if that happens to us?"
Right.
And then he's like, "If one of your goats went missing, wouldn't you look for it?"
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He knows how to tug on their heartstrings.
yes, he's
That's
smart.
what flips the switch right there.
Smart Mark.
Yeah.
So in this, this gets her, and you know, she reveals that Miss Casey would do her visits there in the I can't remember where it was, but she would make visits.
Mhm.
She believes that Miss Casey was retired, but if they want to continue their search, they won't hinder them. Like
Yeah.
they won't get in the way. But before they leave,
Yes.
the dude
We must
who is
see your bellies.
who is the same guy that we saw in season 1 feeding the
Yeah.
goat, is like, you know, gives her a look, and she's like, "We need to see your bellies."
I love it.
What?
He's like, "See, I told you they don't have pouches," or something like that.
Yeah. See, pouchless. And then
Yeah.
he says, "It proves nothing."
I laughed so hard.
What are you guys talking about?
It makes no sense.
So
I love
it for our goat adventure.
Yeah,
That's the
dude.
last we see of them, the innies.
By the way, her name is Lorne, I believe.
Okay. I forgot to look up her name.
Yes, Lorne. And the guy who they saw in season 1 feeding the goat looked a little disheveled.
Yes.
But maybe it's because he was herding the goats in the office pasture. But yeah, the goat thing is interesting, especially since you asked last week if what goat, what the relation of goats and cloning is. And since we learned last week that goats have been cloned, it just kind of plays more into the Palpatine Kier theory, and would make sense why they're like tending these goats and like raising goats and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't explain the guy in the goat like suit, but
They really love goats.
yeah,
They are invested, man. They are in it.
maybe
Totally committed
yeah
to this department.
but yeah, those interactions made me laugh pretty hard. Lauren is a great character, and I hope we see
was
more of her.
amazing. Yeah, the way she was dressed, you know, she had a little smudge on her cheek. I'm like, man, she's great.
Yeah,
Let's get
just
more of that.
the violent ringing of the bells and the pouchless,
Like the hostility right off the bat. Like,
yeah,
are you here to kill me? Let's go. She
yeah,
was ready.
yeah. So it makes you wonder, like, what these poor goat herders have endured in their time on the severed floor.
Several lashings, probably.
Yeah.
She's a fierce manager for sure.
Yeah.
So we can either
Talk about Dylan G.
We can talk about Dylan, or we can talk about Irving.
Let's talk.
Irving's is shorter.
Short, yeah. Let's do Irving.
So, and it's short. I mean, I could wrap this up fairly quick. And it's still significant. Nothing is wasted. Like everything means something. So Irving finally makes his way to O&D. And then we remember Felicia from season 1, who worked with Bert.
Yep.
She says it's good to see him, and then they hug. And then the next scene, they are sharing laughs and sharing good moments about Bert, good memories. And then he hands her a sketchbook of sketches of Bert. Every page is a different sketch of Bert. It's the same face, but he draws a picture every day. And then she flips to the hallway picture that he drew. And her demeanor changes like that, like instantly. Yeah. And she asks, how do you know about the exports hall? Like super serious. We send a lot of shipments there. We used to take them, but now they send some guy. And then he asks her if she knows where it is. And then it kind of like, it hangs there for a minute. She looks like she obviously knows where it's at, but does she want to tell him? Like,
right.
Is she going to tell him? I feel like she will, because we're kind of heading that way. That's kind of the goal, I feel like.
Yeah. It's crazy that, I mean, it's not crazy, but to Irving, it's crazy that like, oh, wow, that's actually a place here.
Yeah.
So his Audi is drawing pictures of a place that he should not know about.
Yeah. And like
#significant.
And I love that imagery in season 1 where the ink was like falling from the ceiling. Like he was like hallucinating about the paint, like the black goo. And it was, Irving is great. Like, I don't know. He's just a great character too. Like every character has their thing. And
he definitely has his quirks, but they're all lovable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting that Felicia knows about this hallway. What are these shipments? You're led to infer that they have to deal with the art that department, deals with, but what are they exporting?
The way her demeanor changed.
Yeah.
Like, she obviously knows something.
Mm-hmm.
And for Irving to show, or for her to come across a picture that he shouldn't know about.
Right.
It's just wild.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, her reaction is also significant, because if it wasn't like, I don't know, like a serious thing, like why would she like almost be afraid that he knows? That's kind of what it looks like, right?
And yeah, and also
or worried that he knows.
Yeah, and also explain Lauren's reaction to Mark wanting to know where Miss Casey went. Because she did not want to tell him. Like, she was very adamant about, I'm not telling you anything, and I will fight you and kill you.
Yeah, I've used these shears before.
There's so much mystery, so much like something around Miss Casey. Like, there's something about her, obviously.
Yeah.
She's important. But
yeah, a lot going on, and it'll be interesting to see what pans out with Irving's small contribution to season 2, but I think it's going to be a very meaningful one once it all comes to fruition, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah, so let us know, guys, like what your theories are, because between the Lauren and the goat office and Irving and this exports hallway, there's a lot of speculation to be had. So interested to know what you guys think about those.
And we love theories. So
yes, we do. So comment on the video.
Yes,
let us know. And then join the Discord and we can keep talking about it there.
Yes. Join our, the rabbit hole that we dive into.
Yes.
So, okay, now we go to Dylan, who's being led by a child, Miss Huang, down a hallway.
Yes.
Which, again, his commentary or his one-liners are amazing. And he's like, "Is it rude to keep asking why you're a kid?" He's like, "Are you okay? They're not forcing you to be here, are they?"
Yeah.
In which she doesn't respond. Like, she's probably an older person trapped in a kid's body.
Mm.
Another crazy theory.
Telling you. Do you remember the San Juniper episode of Black Mirror?
No, I don't think I watched that.
You've never watched Black Mirror?
Mm-mm.
Oh wow, another show you'd love. Skip episode 1 though, if you don't want to be like emotionally scarred. Well, actually, if you don't want to be emotionally scarred, skip like 95% of the episodes. But episode 1, man, I just can't even talk about it. But yeah, the San Juniper episode essentially, you're following these like, I don't know, 18 to like mid to late 20-year-old kids, young adults, and it's all like 80s, like synth wavy. And then you find out at the end that it's actually just old people plugged into a machine at a nursing home. Like their consciousness is being transferred to San Juniper into this reality as they like live out their days, right? So is
That's
that
crazy.
Miss Huang?
I don't know. I don't.
Also, spoiler alert for the San Juniper episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah. Well, I'd
It's
say
very old. Okay, it's very
I'd say
old.
by now people have probably seen. I'm the exception to that. So you just spoiled it to me. It's okay.
That's true.
I'll probably forget about it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In old age.
No kidding. That's all getting more.
The thing is, you probably have seen it twice. You just can't remember.
I have my own Severance effect happening every day.
It's called becoming a senior citizen.
This is 40, man. Your 40s are your decline. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my oldness. I mean, that's a good theory. I think that they're doing some kind of memory associate, or I talked about this last week. I can't think of the word.
Transfer or something.
Yeah. There's something with the consciousness for sure. Maybe. I don't know. I'm speculating. So we are now back to the security room, which from season 1, this is where Dylan, did his part of the whole heist. And, Milkshake tackled him. But it's a little different. So he walks in.
New fresh coat of paint,
And so when he walks into the room, it shows these monitors, and it's showing him and his wife. It's showing multiple pictures. I can't remember everything that's being shown. Also with the sound of the ocean and seagulls, because that's significant. Supposed to like create a nice, pleasant, relaxing environment.
Have you ever gotten a massage?
No.
Because that's like what they play when you go get a massage.
I mean, I have been to the beach though, and it's very relaxing, I must say.
It is. The gentle thud
that
of
sound,
the waves on the shore.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Like it. So his wife is there. Gretchen G. Was it Gretchen? Okay. So
I'll confirm, but keep talking.
So she's there. This whole thing is weird. They sit down and talk. He obviously doesn't know who she is, other than seeing her picture just on the video or on the monitors. And Miss Huang says, through good behavior and output, you've earned an 18-minute visitation event with your Audi's wife, Gretchen G. In which he responds, cool. This isn't it either. Like his
Yeah.
His dialogue is
Ooh.
perfect. So they sit down and they're just like looking at each other, and he's like, "Nice sack," because she's holding this clear bag of stuff,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
like, "They made me put all my stuff in this bag." And then he asks her if he's in trouble, and she said no. But she goes on to say that, you know, Dylan really can't hold a job and never quite found his thing, like his thing in life, like his
Yeah.
purpose or whatever. And so Dylan asks a few questions and then finally comes to the realization that he's a screw up.
Yeah.
Wait, and she doesn't say anything. And then
Confirming that he's
exactly, so much is said in silence.
yes. Yes.
And then she asks if he wants to see a picture of the kids. And he's, yeah, of
It's
course.
like, have kids? Sweet.
And so she takes out a picture and he's like, this is cool. This is awesome. And then she goes through all the kids and he's like, we live on a cattle ranch?
Because it's
Because
one
it's
of
a
those.
Western, it's a
Yeah.
Western photo, like a themed photo shoot. I thought that was great. And I love Dylan. I love Dylan since the beginning. Just his one-liners. He's always got the greatest lines.
Yeah, but man, this scene is so sad because this is the first time that you're right, her name is Gretchen. Gretchen has interacted with any Dylan.
Yes.
And that has to be heartbreaking. This person you literally spend your entire life with has zero clue who you are.
Right.
Like, even at the end, she tells him that she loves him, and he's just like,
oh.
Yeah. All right.
Which makes me like, there's such an ominous like tone to all of this. Like, and you know that this is just a mind game or a tool of manipulation to get Dylan to be a good boy, basically, to behave and not do anything stupid like last time. So, I mean,
I wonder if it'll work now that he's met his wife.
I see that. I see them holding that over his head, though. Like, if you keep behaving, you'll get to see more of your wife.
You get to know her more.
You get to like learn about her and like.
That's true,
dude. That's just evil. That like this whole thing is evil, but like that's just cruel and a punishment in itself, really.
And I don't know if you're like me, but I have this really annoying like ability to remember actor and actresses' faces. Okay. If I've seen them in like literally anything and then they pop up in something else, like I'm like, oh, that's so-and-so who played so-and-so in this show.
Right. Yeah.
This has happened to me twice now, maybe in my old age, but the first instance, unrelated, was like a Verbo commercial with Nick Saban and like the mom of the family who is renting from Nick Saban. I'm like, my goodness, why can I not figure out who this lady is? I've seen her in something. After like, I'm not even exaggerating, like 2 or 3 weeks, I found out who she was. She was Dave's girlfriend in the FX show Dave about Little Dicky.
Okay.
So I was like, I knew I wasn't crazy. I have seen her in something.
Yeah.
But I had the same thing happen with Gretchen. I'm like, I know I've seen this lady in something, and it's driving me insane. I can't figure it out. And then, unlike the Verbo commercial, I could actually like click on her in IMDb and like scroll through all the shows.
Yeah.
And finally, I got down to where I know her from, and it wasn't part of her like the first chunk of things that she's quote unquote known for. But her name is Merritt Wever, and she played Denise from The Walking Dead, like one of the earlier seasons.
Oh yeah, yep.
She's the doctor in Alexandria.
I did,
and I was like,
I did see that. Yeah,
that's where I know. Wow, why is my camera like flashing like crazy? Did you see that?
I thought your lights were like reacting to your hands.
I have light power. when I get excited.
That
No,
that went away. 15 seconds.
yeah. I guess I don't have late power.
Just kidding.
But yeah, so she plays Denise from
Yeah,
The Walking Dead.
totally different character.
Totally. Or
Yeah.
maybe not. We don't know. We don't know where this takes place.
Alexandria, where it's always winter.
Right. Right in the heart of Washington, D.C.
Right.
Totally small town. I actually
Where there's
have
nothing but fields everywhere.
Yeah, I've driven not through Alexandria, but like I saw Alexandria on highway signs, like coming back to Ohio from the Outer Banks.
Okay.
One of the routes takes you through Washington. I was like, I know that place. I don't ever want to go there.
I don't want to be there ever.
But yeah, this interaction, man, it just like it was funny and like awkward in a funny way, but then also like
Sad.
just like tragic.
Yeah.
I feel like from Gretchen's
Heartbreaking.
perspective. Yeah.
Well, and I felt at that moment I felt bad for Dylan because he
Yeah.
was being. This is a punishment. This isn't a benefit.
Yeah.
This is just to keep him on a leash.
Yeah. I wonder what'll happen going forward because like he had no idea who she is. Like, is he going to want to get to know her, or is he going to be like, yeah, did that once. Like, it's cool, it's chill, whatever.
I can see him being like that, but at this point, I don't know because there's so much at stake,
Right.
and like he's gotten this revelation,
Mm-hmm.
and because, in season 1, when because he woke up in his Audis
right
in the closet and he met his kid.
What was he doing in the closet? Just sitting
Hide and
there.
seek, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then that takes you to the rest of Dylan in this episode.
Yeah.
We see Audi Dylan, and like, what was your impression of him? And then I'll tell you mine, because I'm not sure if mine is accurate or not.
Like he's present, but like kind of aloof, like kind of lazy, and like she kind of does everything,
Mhm.
and he's kind of like forgetful and doesn't know how to make cookies, and she's like, dude, it comes in a tube.
Yeah.
You just got to cut it in half. Like
Yeah.
I feel bad saying that he like a screw up, but he's kind of like, I don't know, not motivated for much of anything.
Right. Okay, that was the impression I was getting. Like he's just
Okay.
very detached, like he's there, but like just kind of there.
Just on the couch.
Yeah. Which then kind of like makes me wonder why Dylan was so fascinated that he had a family. Or maybe it was just that he had a family. Or like or is everyone similar to Mark in the way where like the any version of them is like, I don't want to say like the better version, but like the not like sucky version.
Like the fresh.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
like Mark's all like grief struck and like kind of dead inside, but Mark is like full of life and joy and funny and like has friends and is outgoing. Like Dylan, similar, like on the outside, kind of detached. I don't want to call him like deadbeat, but like his wife says he's a screw up. Like he is just like on the couch on his phone, like
yeah,
on the outside. But inside, he's also outgoing, like funny, very
yeah.
personable. Like I wonder, and same with Helly. She's
Super
basically a
serious.
robot on the
Yeah,
outside,
yeah.
and on the inside, she actually like has emotions.
Yeah, she is an actual human. It's actually an interesting take because you would think maybe the opposite would be true. Like the Audis have more. I mean, if they were detached from work, I feel like they'd be happier.
Yeah.
And then the innies would be miserable. It's just interesting. I do like that dynamic.
I wonder if the innies are the real versions of these people.
Interesting.
Just saying. Just
Definitely
throwing it out there.
put a pin in it.
Yeah, we'll borrow Chad's
I'm not Chad.
catchphrase.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
So let's go to.
Well, nothing else really happened in this episode, right?
No.
It's just basically over.
Well, not in this scene, but there are several other things that happen. I mean, we can go through it real quick.
It was a joke.
Oh, I mean, this episode is so full of stuff. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
But we are nearing the end.
Yeah, but definitely nothing important happens the rest of the episode.
No, nothing. You know, it's a flash. So then we go to.
Speaking of Flash.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's later. That's later. So, and then we have. We hear someone reading from a book, and we see a page of a book, and we realize that it's Natalie reading Rick.
Oh, I totally forgot about this scene,
which was so bizarre. And then Devin walks in. She's like, "What?" I love Devin. Like, she's just so like,
yeah.
She says what she thinks.
Yeah, no hiding.
It shows it all over her face. Like, why are you in my house? Like, what are you doing?
And all over her words too.
Yeah,
like all over everything. Every
everywhere,
ounce
everywhere.
of Devin.
So basically, Natalie is there because she wants him to write any version of his book, The You Are, but to write it in a certain verbiage.
Yeah.
That the innies relate to or resonate to better.
Right.
And then Devin is like, okay, whatever, cool. And she starts to leave. And then Natalie makes it a point to say that Mark is one of the sweetest members of the Severed team. And Devin is like, I'll be back in an hour. Don't forget to feed the baby.
Yeah. I do love how, like, it seems like nobody thinks Rickon is, like, a good author except for Rickon. Like, everyone is surprised, like, what? Yeah. You like that book?
Right.
What?
And the innies are so fascinated by his book.
Yeah, dude.
It's so crazy.
It's I wonder what the verbiage, like what Natalie. I don't know why I thought of Nicole. Why Natalie, like what the plan is with this book. Like, what is this verbiage she's talking about? What's the goal?
I think that that might, maybe, possibly, I'm kind of just throwing it out there because I just thought about it. If you remember the newspaper article where they're heralded as heroes or whatever, there's a clipping that talks about Rickon's book. That it's I might actually have it in my notes. I don't know. It's fine. But he wrote something about Kier, basically. So I don't know if that means anything, but I was just like, it's interesting that, it's going this way. Like, that was maybe their plan all along, to use him somehow.
Do you think those newspaper clippings or things that you've seen, that we've seen, are from the future? Or like maybe different times than where we are currently?
I feel like it was all propaganda, basically. Like, they had a very obviously photoshopped picture of the innies in a parade in a car and celebrating, because I'm pretty sure that picture they used was their employee picture that they took of the four of them, just altered a little bit.
Yeah, and it was actually the Kennedy drive.
Yeah. But they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
They just, and so much redacted things. It's insane. That was crazy. So that was a fun little interaction. And then we find out where Devin is going. She's going to meet Mark.
Yeah.
And they're working on something.
Yeah. Little arts and crafts.
Yeah, it's a good time. And she's telling Mark about the book or whatever. And they have this like a construction light that they're putting stuff on. And she is saying that you need to see the image after the light goes off for 2.5 minutes to be able to, and that's why he's timing himself in the beginning, because if he can make it to that far, the message will get through to the innie.
And they won't be able to track it.
Correct.
It's in his brain.
Yes. So, and then they show the image. It is who is alive.
I feel like that wouldn't be helpful for him to remember, because he'll be like, yeah, who is alive?
And that question actually comes up later. So there's also a short scene where Milkshake is finishing up his day at the office, and he walks past the paintings and he quickly boxes them up and puts them on the top shelf of the supply closet. He's like, I'm done with this crap.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So we end with Mark staring into a floodlight under a blanket in his car.
Repeatedly.
Oh gosh.
There is one, we can go to that, because there's only one more there's only one more thing that happens before we get to Mark and that whole
what's
sequence.
that?
So we see Helena leaving Lumen also. She's going to her car, but then she stops because she sees Kobelvig standing in the parking lot.
That's right.
Just standing there. Okay. And then Helena walks up to her, and Kobelvig, like right off the rip, if you want me back, you must accommodate my needs. And Helena's like, I'm listening. And Kobelvig says, MDR, non-negotiable. This is what I want. Mark is so close to completing Cold Harbor, and she believes that she can get him to complete that, and that Milkshake is not equipped for the job, and she wants the severed floor back. And then Helena is quick to say that she hears ego and arrogance, and this is something that Keir teaches against, and that it only causes pain. And then Kobelvig makes a jab that I've accomplished everything I've worked for, and through determination, not because I was born into it, which I thought that was pretty bold. And then Helena shoots back, I think you've overestimated your contributions and underestimated your blessings. We didn't have to ask you back. And then Kobelvig says you didn't have a choice. Helena says, are you sure? Okay, why don't we just reset? It doesn't have to be this way. And then she calls Natalie to see if the board is available for a meeting and says, let's go speak with them together. Then they walk back to the car, and something happens. And I'm still trying to piece this together. She walks up with Helena. She sees the driver, and she stops.
Yeah.
The driver.
Maybe the driver is the one doing the deliveries to the export hallway.
Oh. But
he's exporting corpses. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Maybe. But anyway, whatever it is, it freaks her out enough that she takes off. She bolts.
Yeah.
I don't understand this woman. Do you want this or not?
Yeah.
But I also feel like this is a big thing.
Yeah, I think she's been there and around long enough that she knows that nothing good is coming for her if she goes and gets in that car or goes up to the boardroom or whatever,
But I don't think this is the last that we see of her. She's not done.
But she is done in this episode, because she skedaddles right on out of there.
She's out. and then we go to Mark, and this whole last however long it is probably one of the craziest parts of the show. And what I've been wanting 4 without knowing I wanted it. Like I want Mark to get to where he wants to be. I want him to find his wife. Like that's, and I feel like they did that. Like they wanted people to be in that position. Like they wanted people to get to, like, Mark has got to get to Gemma. Like, and we've known that she's alive. And like, once we realize that that's his wife, we're like, oh, he's got to get her, you know, like, and like all those moments after, like, and they're having those interactions. I'm like, oh, why can't you just remember? Like, that's like one of the most like significant things in your life, especially if, you know, you've lost someone. Yeah. Like, I feel like that would be a switch in itself to make him remember something, but I don't know.
Right.
So Mark is in his car somewhere isolated from everything, and he puts this blanket over his head, turns the light on, does it a bunch of times, and then he is counting with his eyes closed and opens his eyes, and I cannot remember her name, but the doctor from season 1, who did the reintegration process with Petey, that's the one who's there, and she's like, why are you doing this? It's not going to work. And even if it did work, how would any Mark get a message back? Like, this is pointless. Right. But she's being very aggressive.
Yes, she was.
And then she like pounds on the car door, like, let me in. And he's like, go away, I'm trying to do this thing. And she
Is her name Alexa?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Maybe. I mean, you could have said it is, and I wouldn't know. So she was asking him a bunch of questions. I didn't write everything down, but says that there's an easier way. And then Mark brings up Petey, and what's her face knows about the OTC.
Yep.
And how did she know? Like, and then he asks if Gemma is alive, and then she says she was the last time I saw her.
Yeah.
So this puts Mark in a panic. You know, he gets out and he's just like, yeah. And he asks her why she didn't tell him, and she tells him that they were interrupted, basically, with the one security dude that she killed. So she is telling him that the only way is through reintegration, and Mark does not hesitate.
Yeah,
he's like, yes, I'm doing it.
Yeah. So her name is Ragabi.
That's right. I did write it down. Asal Ragabi. Yep.
And she was a former doctor of Lumen, so
she knows her stuff.
She's familiar. But yeah, I wonder like what the heck she was doing there. Like how she knew Mark was there.
Has she been following him? Like,
yeah,
she knew exactly where he was.
What's with the panic, like you were saying?
Yeah.
To let her. That's all interesting. And we know that they do everything with intention in this show. So it wouldn't be like just one of those like plot hole slip up like of continuity type things of where she would just be there and be like, hey, there's a reason she knew that Mark would be there or something. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But yeah, man, Mark's like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then they do it.
They go back to his house. They're in his basement. She
Is
has
he in
all
his pajamas from the opening credits.
That's what I was wondering, but he only had a red sweater on. I think he had regular pants on, which could mean something. Maybe like split half and half.
Oh,
I don't know. Just kind of spitballing here. But they show the monitors where they've got the 2 brain waves going. And then they show the wires. She's putting the wires on his head, which is also in the intro video. And then she's starting to do something, and his hand begins to shake really bad.
And she's like, "Oh, wrong knob."
Oh crap! Yeah, last thing you want to hear from a doctor. Oh, sorry, wrong thing, wrong knob. So, and then she asks him a bunch of questions like, "Who am I? Where are we?" And then as she's doing this, the waves are getting closer together. And then she asks about his mom, the color of her eyes, his biggest regret or whatever.
Yeah.
Asks where he was born, and then it flashes to any mark real quick, and he's got wires on, and the you see the same frame that he was like leaned into.
Yeah.
And they're beginning to merge.
Yeah.
And then there's flashes of him on the table. Like it's all happening so fast. And then it gets like he's sitting up on the table, and we see the speaker, and this is from, when Helly woke up. She was sleeping on the table, woke up, and we heard Mark's voice talking to her. We now hear Mark's voice talking to Mark, sitting on the table.
Was it Mark's voice?
It sounded a lot like Mark. I
was
be
wondering
wrong.
If maybe it was like PD or something.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It sounded like Mark to me. I could be wrong. So he's, going through his whole spiel about the 5 questions, and it ends with him asking, "Who are you?" And then it ends.
Yeah.
That was
not really much to dig into there.
Just a lot of quick flashes, and then the merging of the marks.
The merging of the marks.
So what does this mean?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Yeah, man, I don't know. Especially if you're right, if it was Mark's voice talking to Mark.
I mean, that's kind of weird now that I think about it.
But is it though? Because Helly made a video to talk to Helly.
That's true. Maybe it's his consciousness.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, do you think it was successful?
Yes.
Oh boy, I wonder what's going to happen in episode 4.
I don't know, and I wonder, because you kind of alluded to it before when you said the innies are maybe the real, the actual person. Who are we gonna see? Because they're 2 separate people.
Yeah.
We see them as 2 separate people. They act differently. How are these merging personalities gonna be?
Yeah.
And is it gonna be heavy on the outie Mark, or more so the innie Mark?
Yeah. Having not really thought about this really at all. Even my comment earlier about the innies being the real version. I think I like that. I think it makes sense. So yeah. I don't know, I think the merged Mark is going to be more Mark S than the Mark Scout, which I want to call him Scott because his actual last name is Scott.
Right.
And I almost did that.
I can also see a battle in his mind for control, because in the intro video, the whole time he's torn between Gemma and Helly. And it's just kind of a battle between who is who. Who is the one that is alive? Who is alive? Right. Who is the living Mark?
I wonder, will it go full Mr. Robot where he's just beating himself up like Elliot does?
Dude. That's such a cool... Oh, man. Mr. Robot was so good.
Yeah.
But I can
he's totally... shoving the Adderall back in his mouth after he was... Oh, God. I almost threw up during that part.
That was
so disgusting.
But that was such brilliant storytelling. And this show is very much...
Very similar.
Very similar.
In their approach and how they handle these things.
Yeah, and I think I might. I don't know, dude, because it's crazy. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But like, what?
Yeah, I wonder. So season 2 of Mr. Robot was like one of the biggest reveals to me, which, hey, maybe you saw it coming, maybe you didn't. I didn't. I had no idea that the reveal of season 2 was going to be the reveal of season 2. Which, spoiler alert, Mr. Robot's an old show, so get over it. But
go watch it.
Go watch it. If you have already, and you know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, but if you need a refresher, season 2 is inside of Elliot's mind. He's like in a new neighborhood. He has a new friend. He goes to the diner all the time to hang out with his new friend Leon, and he's like trying to get his life back on track. And then you find out that all of that is just a figment of his imagination, and he's actually in jail. He's been in prison the entire time.
That reveal was so, oh my gosh.
Yeah, which if you haven't seen the show, you're going to be like, how is that a reveal? Well, let me tell you. It was crazy. You had no idea. And the way they did it and were able to tell the story of season 2 through that lens was like one of the most amazing things I've seen in TV in a long time.
Yeah.
All that to say, this show is very similar in its tone and direction and how they handle those sorts of like mind games that they're playing with the audience.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll have a similar type, like, mind-blowing moment in this season where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been right in front of us this whole time.
I definitely feel that way, and I feel like there's something really big, about to be revealed.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know.
Man,
I don't know what's gonna happen.
4 days till season or episode 4. I can't wait.
4 days until season 4. It only took us 4 years to get season 2.
That's crazy.
And now they're just skipping seasons.
Now we don't even know where they are, who they are.
It's a good episode, and like you said, they set up a lot of things that I'm very interested to learn about. So I'm excited for the next episode. Sounds like you're excited.
They keep like raising that bar of like anticipation and like, I don't know, dude, something.
Yeah. Let us know what you think, because like we've said in every other episode, there's like every episode spawns like 5 new theories all about different things. Like,
yes,
we're not necessarily changing our theories on anything. We're just like, oh wow, this aspect of this character or this story has this crazy theory.
Yeah, I want to know who you think is going to be Mark. Like, which part is going to be like more like, is it going to be more of any Mark or outie Mark?
Yeah. So let us know. Leave a comment. Subscribe. Go join the Discord. And we'll see you next week for episode 4. Hope you're enjoying it as much as we are.
Yes.
Bye.
Peace.
Wait, are we playing the video again? Or do we just end?
Well, this is definitely going to be the outro.
Dude, I've only been doing this for like 4 years. You think I would know how to end it?
Do you know what you're doing, sir?